Imagine losing your house keys, wallet, or even your cell phone. It can be really frustrating. But what if you lose something much more important, like a password to access millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency? What would you do? Would you keep searching until you found it, or would you simply give up? This is exactly what happened to a man who lost his hard drive containing $742 million worth of Bitcoin. After 12 years of searching, he finally gave up. So how did this happen, and why did it take him so long to give up? Let's find out in today's episode of Lost and Found. In the early days of crypto, there was no exchange or easy way to purchase Bitcoin. Because of this, people often used their computers to mine Bitcoin. Computer power is still used today, but it requires massive warehouses filled with humming computers and expensive equipment. Back then, it could be done at home. In 2010, a young programmer from Scotland named James appealed to an online community for help after he lost his hard drive, which contained a password to access over 7,500 Bitcoin that he had mined. At the time, this was worth about $6.5 million. But now it would be worth over $742 million. He had last seen the drive in a cafe in downtown Edinburgh while working on his laptop. He searched everywhere but couldn't find a drive anywhere, so he posted about his misfortune online in hopes someone would recognize it and return it to him. For 2 years, he didn't receive any answers. Then suddenly one day, he got an email saying that someone had found the drive. However, the person wanted $500,000 before handing it over. Of course, James refused and decided to wait. In total, he would wait 12 long years until finally giving up hope. The crazy thing is that when James started his search, he was actually worth several $million. Yet, it took him 12 years to give up. Well, the first reason is that he thought he might one day be able to recover the data. Hard drives can be damaged in many ways, but they're not always beyond repair. As long as the physical components are intact, the data can usually be recovered. This is what happens when you send your hard drive to a professional data recovery service. They will open the drive and locate the raw data. While your file system may be toast, the files themselves may be recoverable. Sometimes there are hidden copies of your data that aren't even connected to your main system. For example, RAID configurations mirror data across multiple drives. If this is the case, some of your data may still be safe, even if one drive is destroyed. Other times there are old versions of your data stored on a server or cloud account. This is another place that people often overlook. When all else fails, there are times where forensics experts can step in. They have special equipment and skills to recover data from extremely damaged devices. But unfortunately, none of these scenarios helped James recover his data. Even though it was only stored on one drive, he never gave up hope. Another reason why he kept going is because the value of Bitcoin kept going up. When he originally lost his Bitcoin, it was only worth $6.5 million. But as Bitcoin grew in popularity, its price increased drastically. At the end of 2020, James said that he was still hoping to get his hands on the Bitcoin. Had he done so, he would have been sitting on roughly $742 million worth of Bitcoin. That's enough money to buy a small country. How amazing is that? This brings us to the next point, which is that selling off all of his Bitcoin would make headlines around the world. Crypto is already a highly scrutinized industry, and having someone cash out this much currency all at once would surely draw unwanted attention. There have been instances where people have tried to hide their identity when purchasing large amounts of cryptocurrency, but it is becoming harder and harder to do this, as exchanges are now required to follow strict anti-money laundering regulations. One method people have used is to use multiple accounts to purchase Bitcoin. However, the advanced algorithms used by exchanges can detect and ban multiple accounts being used by the same person. Another way people have gotten around this is to use cash to purchase gift cards. The gift cards are then redeemed for crypto. But this isn't very practical when trying to buy tens of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. The amount of gift cards needed would be astronomical. It's unlikely that James could have pulled this off, and that is why he likely didn't try to sell the Bitcoin himself and instead waited for someone to contact him with the password. But why did it take him 12 years to give up? We mentioned the emotional attachment he had towards the Bitcoin, but there is another big reason: legality. Depending on how and when he mined the Bitcoin, it may have belonged to someone else. When you mine crypto, you basically own whatever you produce. However, this isn't the case if you're mining on someone else's computer or using their electricity. In 2010, there were many people who would pay others to use their computer's processing power to mine crypto. Basically, they were renting the computer to the miner. Once the mining was complete, the owner of the computer would receive a certain percentage of the newly created Bitcoin. If James was doing this and not paying the owners of the computers he was using, then the Bitcoin rightfully belonged to them. This means that even if James had found the hard drive, he may not have been able to keep it. This is likely why he didn't come forward until 12 years later, when he knew the price of Bitcoin had skyrocketed and he wouldn't be satisfied with just handing it over. Instead, he wanted to profit from it as well. It's unknown how many people James owed money to, but it probably would have been impossible for him to pay them all back had he sold the Bitcoin. This brings us to the question: why did he keep searching for so long? Well, for one, he may have felt guilty if he didn't try everything he could to find the drive. After all, he had posted about it online. By not trying to find the drive, he would be letting down the people who supported him and offered their help. Also, there was always a chance that someone else would find the drive and hand it over to him. He could have easily given up within the first few months of searching, but instead he kept looking for 12 years. This shows that he was truly dedicated to finding the hard drive. And speaking of dedication, have you ever wondered how YouTube videos are made? It takes a lot of planning, filming, and editing to create the videos you watch every day, and it's the same for our show. That's why we're so excited to announce that we've partnered with a company to bring you behind-the-scenes footage of how our episodes are made. Each week, you get to see exclusive content that shows the hours of work that go into creating the videos you love. You'll also get to watch our previous videos ad-free, and plus, you'll get early access to our new show, which explores other mysteries just like ours. So why did James give up after 12 years? In the end, the answer is simple. It wasn't worth it anymore. When he posted his original plea for help, he was only missing 7,500 Bitcoin. But by 2022, he was missing over 8,000 Bitcoin. And with each passing year, the number continued to grow. At some point, he realized that the longer he waited, the less likely he was to get his Bitcoin back. So he decided to cut his losses and move on. However, his story doesn't end here. It turns out that James has continued mining Bitcoin, but now he does it in a much bigger way. In recent years, he's built several warehouses filled with computers that run day and night to mine Bitcoin. His hard work has paid off, and he's become one of the largest Bitcoin miners in Europe. Who knows? Maybe one day he'll stumble across his lost hard drive and be sitting on billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. Or maybe he'll continue mining Bitcoin the old-fashioned way and slowly build up his fortune. Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. See you next time!